Okay, welcome back to the podcast. Mark, who have we got on today?
How you doing, mate? All right?
Yeah, good.
We've got a gentleman called Carl O'Sullivan. He's a personal trainer in Peterborough with us. I really liked the cut of his jib, I think is the saying, isn't it? But I met him through a bit of networking, and what I really liked, I would say, was he kind of went against a lot of the grain of the fitness industry. Had a lot of opinion, lot of stuff to talk about the fitness industry, and it's not the sort of the norm, not the regular narrative, and that's kind of what stood out for me. So I said to him, "Look, do you want to come on? Let's have a chat and tell us your take on the fitness industry, really." So it should make for a good episode, I think.
Yeah, not your standard PT. He's, from what you've told me, he's more like a bit more understanding that life gets in the way. He's just had a kid himself, I think.
Yeah.
And he's maybe opened his eyes a bit more about what can get in the way of you in the gym.
Yeah.
So yeah, mate, it should make an interesting episode.
Yeah, and the conversation I had before, he said he was probably that basic PT in his earlier life, but as you mature, you get a bit older, you understand the challenges that come your way. So yeah, I think he seems like a good guy. But yeah, let's just jump into it and see what he's all about.
Yeah, let's go.
And here he is. This is Carl O'Sullivan, fitness trainer and PT.
Yep.
Business owner. Dad.
Yeah, dad, now dad. That's fun. All fun and games.
And so we've got you in to do a special episode today and talk about the current state of the fitness industry. So yeah, let's start there, then, Joe. How would you describe the current state of the fitness industry?
So having been in the industry for nearly 10 years now, well, I've been training for 15 years, it's up and down. There's all sorts of stuff. And throw in there social media now, you've got a lot of polarizing content, because as a fitness content creator myself, the algorithms don't suit the generic information. They want polarizing content. So what people are doing, especially influencers, is they're taking statements really out of context and making them big things. And the typical one people will know is carbs are the enemy and that sort of thing. So yeah, the fitness industry, it's a massive lucrative market. If you get into it for the right reasons, which I like to say I have done, you can really help people. Like I've seen a lot of my clients over the last few years really transform their lives for the better. But then there are the bad sides to it. It's very smoke and mirrors. So I'd like to know your thoughts on it. Having someone that's been where you are, both of you've done really well. Yeah. Surely you've seen, obviously from a PT perspective, the different side of it, the polarizing content that's out there. I won't name any names, but there's big people putting some outlandish statements that aren't very accurate. But if you've got 2 million followers, people think that's gospel, and that's not always the case.
Yeah, no, that's so true. And that whole influencer culture is exactly that. And there's people promoting all sorts of things, not just in fitness, but like in cosmetics. And I saw, like, I don't know, it's on TV the other night, that Olivia Atwood, and she was doing like talking to like influencers that are doing bum lifts and stuff like that. And it's like they've got absolutely no training, no knowledge. And it's a bit of a dark hole when you start going down there, really. But yeah, in terms of like the fitness industry, something that really sort of got me going, and I've spoke about it on this pod before, was when I early on, when I was sort of getting close to 20 stone, I'm looking at stuff on TikTok and social media, and it's like, if you want to burn fat, you've got to do this and this. And it was some 18-year-old fitness trainer. And I'm thinking, that doesn't resonate with me. That's not relatable. And so that's kind of where big fellas came from. There's guys in our situation that aren't the most sort of confident and au fait with going to the gym. Maybe we've done a bit in the past, but really, if we were to look at something on social media, we've got some real ripped PT telling you got to do this and this, and where I'm at, that's a million miles away. And I've got to ask myself, do they get where I am? Have they had to lose weight? Where have they been in their journey? Or are they just, they've picked up a textbook and says, you got to do this, eat broccoli, eat chicken, and you're done. And so that's certainly what we'll talk about for social media. I think there's a lot of misinformation, there's a lot of clickbait, and I think there needs to be a bit more nuance attached to this.
Yeah, so obviously from a scientific point of view, we have the principle, and then you have the application of that principle, which you can then take for anything. So we know scientifically that to lose weight, it's a calorie deficit. So we need to control our output, so our daily movement and our exercise, and control our intake, the energy that's coming in. So that is the primary principle. How you apply that is different, and that's where the different companies around the world have then created their own strategies and stuff like that. The way I approach it is I look at the individual in front of me and go, right, what's realistic for you to stick to now in your current scenario? What could you adhere to? Because that's always the biggest issue. You don't necessarily need to go to the gym to lose weight, because you're going to the gym to get fitter, get stronger, and get leaner, i.e. build some muscle tissue, lift some weights over time progressively, or get fitter. We're not necessarily going to lose weight at the gym. That's where your daily movement and then your nutrition is very important for that side of it. So we have to look at the individual in front of us and what's going to suit them at that current point. And like you said, I've been that 18-year-old shredded person going, eat chicken and broccoli 4 or 5 times a day. I was at uni, I could do that. Now being a father and working the hours that I do and having a business that's doing fairly well for itself, I can't just have chicken and broccoli all the time. Accessibility wise, also my timetable. So looking at the current issues and going, right, we're in a very hyper-palatable world now. Like, food is in abundance for us and calories are in abundance. How can I now put an intervention in place that's going to help me, going to help this client in front of me, X, Y, and Z? Because everyone's got a different journey, different barriers to entry, like we were discussing just before we went on, and how we can apply that to them directly. And like you said, it's about understanding people, and it's about taking that bravado out of it. And I don't like it when PTs are on social media talking about stuff with their top off, because what they're trying to do is vindicate themselves through, I'm in good shape, this is why you should listen to me. And if you think about it, like in the old days when I say old days, I'm 30, and when I was 18, I'd literally look for the biggest person in the gym. I'd go and ask him for advice. That isn't always the case, because like we've got genetics involved in stuff. Like some people are genetically gifted than others. That's just life, right? Some of my friends are much bigger than me and don't train as hard and stuff like that. It's just life. We've got genetics being a big part of it. So looking at the person that's in the most shape isn't what we should be doing. We should be looking at the person that's understood the person the most and got the most amount of results for different people or the people that we're talking to. That's what a coach will do. We wouldn't go to Ronaldo and go, right, how do we change this formation, etc. You go to Pep Guardiola and go, right, how did you see that system working, X, Y, and Z? So that's a real big point in the fitness industry at the minute is you've got these youngsters, and I won't go into anabolics and the stuff that's out there at the minute, but that's on the rise. So you've got people going on social media who are taking performance enhancing supplements, which you won't know about if you don't really understand it, and saying, look, this is what I do, you should follow my plan because I'm shredded. Yeah. It's like, well, like you were saying, like, how does that resonate with you? It doesn't. It's putting you off. Now, my issue with that is it shouldn't put you off. So what my goal is with people is everyone should feel good and comfortable to go to a gym. It's a place for everyone. It's a place for people to go and grow. That's what it's about. But PTs, people that are in super lean, shredded shape, they make it uncomfortable because they're not as empathetic towards other people. And there's a big barrier there with that side of it. And hopefully I can do my bit to show people that I'm just an average person, an average PT, an average dad, an average in shape PT, whatever you want to call it. But I'll understand your story. I'll sit down and listen to you and go, right, this based on my knowledge, what I've done with this person, this is what I think is going to help. Are you ready for that? And actually listen to you, because that's the important part of it.
Cool. Just going to stop it there, mate. Can you just turn your chair slightly more towards the camera so that it gets less of a sign? You can look at us. Yeah. I just wanted to try into that. Yeah, okay, right.
We'd like to pick up
from there. We'll now ask the next question. You just want to go back. I was just thinking there was a bit at the beginning of what you were saying. Yeah, okay. So going back to what you were just saying at the beginning of that. So you said that going in the gym, losing weight is more about your activity level and what you're eating. And then what you're saying that then in the gym, you should be working on, your tone and your muscle mass.
Yeah. So if we look at metabolism, we've got 3-4 parts of it. So you've got BMR, basal metabolic rate. So that is what we call coughing calories. So that's how many calories you'll expend just laying down every day and breathing, etc. So that is typically determined by age, sex, ethnicity, height, etc. So we can't change that typically too much. It's not something we can control and change overnight, for example. But that will change as we go through life, get older and stuff like that. And if we change body composition. We've then got NEAT, non-exercise activity thermogenesis. So that's about 20% of so BMR is about 60 to 70%, and NEAT is about 20%. Now, don't quote me on these because it changes it person to person, and obviously science is based on averages. So 20% of non-exercise activity thermogenesis is your daily movement. It's you standing up versus sitting down. It's you going for a walk to the shop to get some food. It's walking to the car, changing, cleaning the bins, cleaning the house, that sort of thing. The stuff that's not programmed. Not programmed exercise. So that's 20%. Then we've got thermic effect of food and thermic effect of activity. They're 5 to 10% each, right? So 20% is daily movement, so that's 24 hours a day, and then only 5 to 10% is actually going to the gym and doing your hour gym session. So in relative terms of daily energy expenditure, going to the gym is null and void, right? So we try and discount that as a reason for dieting as such, because you're going to have to get someone to go to the gym 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 hours a week to try and get the same amount of output as someone just doing 10, 12,000 steps a day, which is easier to do over a 24-hour window than it is to just go to the gym for the rest of your life and spend your life in there, which we know most people, most of my clients only train 3 times a week. They only need to go 3 times a week to the gym. Everything else can be done outside of it, right? But what we are trying to promote when it comes to that's energy expenditure. What we are trying to promote is building lean muscle tissue over time. So like I was saying before we come on, is muscle is the anti-aging medicine, right? It's out there. As we get older, we want to preserve tissue, yeah? So the more we can build as we go through life, the better. Unfortunately for us men, as we get past 35, testosterone starts to drop. That hampers the rate in which we grow muscle tissue. So that does become a bit more difficult, a bit more challenging. So if we can grow more before we get to that age, that's good. It's not saying we can't grow it after 35. It's just a little bit harder. So we have to really look at the factors. Then we've got females, menopause, right? Now, before anyone says that I'm a bloke, etc., I don't really understand it. My mother's gone through menopause. I've gone into research, like really understood it and coached ladies through it for the last 5 years. So I understand it. And with the drop in estrogen, females do get a drop in muscle tissue as well, right? So as we get older, we want to preserve muscle tissue. That's the point I'm trying to get at. It's the most important thing. When I'm 80, I want to be strong enough that if I fall, I've got enough muscle to recover quicker, etc. over time, because that's life, it's health, that's functional, right?
It's a case you want to fall, not have a fall.
Yeah, and you want to be strong enough to hold yourself and be able to walk and do these movements, because that's what muscles do. We don't need to be a bodybuilder on the stage, but we need to have tissue to be strong enough to do those movements. So what I'm trying to get at is your daily steps is going to impact your energy output. So we've got that controlled. Your intake, you're going to control through either a meal plan or whatever nutritional structure you're going to follow, right? So they're the two that are the biggest part of the equation when it comes to losing weight and creating that deficit. If we add in the cardio side of it, so let's say you go to the gym and do 30 minutes of cardio 3 or 4 times a week, that's not really going to add too many calories burn in that time, right? So that's why when I try and program stuff for people, I go, right, what's the easiest way for me to make it as simple as possible for you to follow? When you go to the gym, I don't want you to look at your Apple Watch and see how many calories you burn. I want you to go and lift more than you did last time. Or I want you to lift the same amount as you did last time so we can keep that volume there, because we know the body is an adaptive organism. If we regress, right? If we maintain, which is positive. So if over 10 years you've actually maintained muscle tissue, that's a big thing, because your body's trying to get rid of that over time, or will try.
It's progress in effect.
Massively. And that's what people forget, and we can touch on maintenance later on. So we are trying to go to the gym to better ourselves physically. And then outside of the gym, we're tracking our daily movement because that's important. And also we're tracking our intake. Now, a little side note, and this is why I'm so passionate about the Prevent the Dad Bod that I was talking to you about. Since having a son, right, my average step count is between 12,000, 15,000 a day, typical day for me, right? The last 14 months, not years, the last 14 months, my step count's dropped by 28%. I was working out the other day. So, and with that, I've become a bit what I call fluffier. So I've put on a bit more fat than my body would normally be holding, because I measure it every month just to make sure that I've got that buffer. So, and that's only because I'm now at home a lot more. And the first 4 to 6 months is your baby's asleep, you're asleep, and then you're trying to catch up on that sleep where you can. So my movement went down considerably, and I've noticed that a lot in my physique. I was noticing I was losing a bit of lean tissue where I wouldn't normally, and that's, I can see why it happens. And this is the point that I was trying to get on before. I was only aware of that because I was tracking that data. When you're not aware of it, you don't think about it, especially when you've just had a newborn and all that. And then over a year, like, you get the excitement, and then 5 years down the line, you go, oh, I've actually put on a bit more body fat than I'd like. And then that's when the intervention happens. But if we can teach people to maintain that and keep the standard there, and I'm not saying you need to go and do this, this, and this, preventing body fat storage is actually really easy. We just need to do what you do in a deficit, but a little bit less. It's actually really easy for people to do with the right measures put in place. So I don't mean this as in easy as me talking about, like we were saying about PTs earlier. I don't want that to come across like that. But I mean easy as in dieting is easy, as dieting is hard, as you two have found out. Like, you've got that metabolic adaptation side of it. Imagine having to do a bit less than that, but actually feel comfortable in yourself and maintain where you're going and see a bit more progression.
Prevention is the best cure, as they often say, isn't it?
Exactly. But and the thing is with life, and this is coaching in a nutshell. Life is difficult now. We're highly palatable foods. Food is in abundance, right? And calories are in abundance, right? We typically would eat very nutrient dense foods. Now you go have a McDonald's and that's your full calories worth of done in a day. Also, we're more sedentary now than ever. We're in very pressured jobs in terms of delivery, on the phone, sitting on your desk all day, every day. And then we've got the weather in the UK, like January, February, March. Who wants to go walking in the freezing cold? Like, no one. So we typically sit inside a lot more over this sort of time. So our daily movement then drops down by 2,000-3,000 a day. Now, 2,000-3,000 a day is okay. Compound over 7 days is a lot. Compound over a month, compound over 3 months, it starts really adding up over time. So yeah, just being aware of that sort of data and information is vital for people. But yeah, going back to the point, sorry, it's a convoluted way to get there, but going back to the point, when it comes to going to the gym, we are trying to maintain muscle tissue or build tissue. And you don't have to, this is the old school thing, every session doesn't have to be progress. If you turn up when you do want to go to the gym, in my opinion, that's progress, because the old person might have just driven home rather than going to the gym that day. So, and if you can keep that consistency up of doing 2 or 3 sessions a week for 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 year, you'll do a lot better than going to the gym 5 days for 12 weeks and then stopping and then starting it all over again.
Cool. So going to the gym is one thing, and that's great. There's a lot often around guys, especially big guys and big women as well, that the gym's an intimidating environment. What's your thought on that, and sort of how would you sort of approach that with a client?
So this is a really difficult one, and I'm quite fortunate because the place we built in Peterborough is, in my opinion, is very welcoming. And I run what's called small group personal training. So personal training is typically expensive. You're paying for the hourly rate. So what I try and do now is I've tried to leverage my services to give my clients the best possible package ever. While giving them enough of my time and making sure that it's a good balance between delivery and business scalability, so that I'm not going over the top with it. So we've created a small group PT package that allows people to come into the gym, all sorts. So I've got males, females, different ages, 30, 60, 65, all sort of ages, all training together at the same time, but they've all got their own individual program to follow, and it's done by myself. Now, the thing is with gyms, it is tough. There's a bravado with it, and certain gyms have different types of bravado, right? If you're going to go to a more exclusive place that's a smaller, a group-led facility, it's going to typically be community-led, because that's what the PT is there to do, build a community, everyone's in it together. Now, bigger chain gyms, commercial gyms, you are left to your own devices. It is, you pay a smaller subscription fee, and here's the gym facility, go and crack on. Now, what I would say to people if I was in that scenario, because, and this is another topic. So I've walked out of a gym before feeling nervous and intimidated. And I spoke about this a while ago on my own podcast, that it was a bodybuilder gym. I'm not the biggest lad going, right? And I'm in okay shape in terms of, if you were comparing me with other PTs, which I don't like doing, but influencers, I'm nowhere near them, right? So I went to a bodybuilding style gym. and there was some big guys in there, and I just felt really out of place and uncomfortable. I paid my day pass. 10 minutes into my set, I was like, I'm really not feeling this, so I left. And that was the first ever time. I was about 27 at the time. It was the first ever time I was like, actually, I felt quite inferior, and like putting myself in the client's shoes, I was like, now I quite understand what people felt like. Yeah. And that's probably what kicked on for me to create the product that I've designed now. So what I'd do for someone in that scenario, if you really feel intimidated about going to the gym, go less. So, and what I mean by that is build the consistency of going. So walk in the door, walk on the treadmill, 5 minutes, walk out. That's all you're going to do. And all you're going to do is for 6 months, you're going to do that. Now, if someone's going to give me some rubbish online for this and say that's not really beneficial, what we're doing there is creating a habit of going into an intimidating place. You're going in there and walking out. Then that 5 minutes over time will turn into 10 because you feel more comfortable. That 10 will turn into 15. Now, if this is someone that's going on their own, I would always recommend, if you are intimidated, go with a plan and go with a buddy, because you've got that group mentality there. You're going to do it together. You're going to be in it together. And if you really struggle, ask for advice, because it's something that's taught over time. Like there's loads of machines in there. You don't know what to do. Start small, build out, get comfortable, and build on that.
Start now, get perfect later.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know, one of the things that helped me in the past with that fear of going there is, do you know those like group-led gyms, like you're saying? Is going there during the day when no one's there. There's no class at work, and going to speak to the PT. And I've done that in the past and found that really helpful, because they will then stop. They'll speak to you because no doubt you're a prospective client. And you get to know the PT. So even if you can't find any friends to go with, you kind of feel like you've at least got that relationship when you start the classes. And also, I do find, and I don't know if Mark agrees with me, is that as intimidating as going to the gym is, once you're there, the vast majority of gyms are actually really friendly places. And a PT once said to me, he said, actually, the people we want in here are overweight people. Because that's the whole fucking point of the gym, right? And you are right in that side of it. It's gyms are there for everyone. They're there for everyone to use. And like you said, they are really good places. And I am an advocate for people going to the gym. That's what I got into the job for. There are different types of gyms. You've got bodybuilder gyms, and I'm not slandering any bodybuilder gym, because they are also really welcoming. I used to work at one for 6 years, and it was one of the best communities that I've seen in terms of everyone chipping in together. And like you said, once you find your feet, once you go into the place, it's like anything. The first day is always the hardest at work in a new place. Like it is part of growing and being uncomfortable. Like you have got, it's not, and this is the hard thing. It's not going to be comfortable. And that is like, we can't get around that side of it. There are parts you're going to have to grow as an individual and go, right, I'm putting myself out there. And there's a guy on social media who was dressed as something in a gym, and he started training, and he videoed himself. He was like, look, no one's watching me. No one cares. Like people are vain in gyms. They're going to focus on themselves. They don't care what you're doing.
That's so true. It's so true. My experience of going to gyms is, when I first joined, and that first time I thought, I'm just I'm a fat bloke here, and everyone around me is absolutely ripped. I look so out of place. But then I realised no one gives a shit about what you're doing. They're focused on their own shit. You just crack on with you. And to be fair, I did. I just went in and got on with it. And then I think over time you recognise the same people there. So you get those nods, and then you do
the same times.
You same people at the same times, and then so you then feel part of it then, and you do feel a bit more connected. But I think that starting point it's in your head, and it's. I think there's lots of different scenarios in life where people have to do something just out of their comfort zone, and it's just breaking the back of that to just say, no, fuck it, I'm going to do it. Let's get in there and challenge myself.
I bet on your classes, being small PT-led classes, I bet you got some good little communities within this class.
Phenomenal. And so I run a professional service, but I enjoy humour, and a lot of my clients enjoy humour. I try and break the barrier down to exercise, because I hate exercise personally. I just know the person that I want to be has to do it 3-4 times a week. Like, I don't enjoy training, but I do it because I know what I want to do. And that's not arrogant. That's just me. That's the reality of what I want to do, right? It's like saying that I want to be a millionaire, but I don't want to do the hours. Like, that's just not going to happen. And there is there is. And the world we're going into is quite a dangerous one for that. Like,
Almost a sense of entitlement.
Yeah, I'm not old school, but like I'm from a military background in terms of my father. Like I've been taught that you have to work hard. Like that is how it's done as well. So there is that grey area with it. But yeah, like in terms of the community that I've created in the gym, we have a good laugh because you create a good environment. People enjoy it. Like a bit of humour breaks the barrier down. People are laughing, they're enjoying it a bit more. Like it is about breaking the barriers to entry. Not saying that people aren't nervous when they come in, but that's my job as a coach to go, right, let me make it as comfortable as possible for you to feel good in this place. And if you come back, I've done my job properly.
What you said there about like the instant results, because I think you're right. You know, like I work in marketing and we see it there. We go out and speak to people and they're like, I want these results now. It's very much the world we live in now. And I think probably social media are part of that. In the weight loss industry, you've got things like surgery, you've got things like Ozempic and the other brands that are coming out. What's your sort of thoughts on that then?
Dangerous. So I've got a couple of clients on said medication. It's positive, right? I was speaking to someone about this the other day. It is positive, really positive. However, management of expectations is the key. Like we know, weight loss, and as I was saying before the podcast, weight loss isn't the issue. Weight maintenance is the issue. So yes, give people the accessibility to the GLP-1, Ozempic, etc., to be able to help the process, but give them the understanding. And this is where the misinformation comes in. If I'm going to give you a golden ticket to results, if I give you that golden ticket to the result and you get the result, and now you stop and get off the train, what's going to happen after that?
Yeah.
And we know that the data is showing that people are losing more muscle mass on it, which then we need to then look at how we stimulate muscle tissue, so protein and weight training. So are we then building the foundations in for that person to build overall health long term, not just short term, but long term? And looking at the overall person. So is this right for this person, or are they just after, and I'm not saying a quick fix, but we all want instant results. Everyone's clicked on that advert before that's going to give you something straight away. That Forex trader that's going to make you £1 million overnight. Like those sort of things are dangerous because they're not managing expectations. So as long as it's done safely, and done with looking at the person in front of them, looking at their history, looking at their background, because that's the big thing, is if someone's constantly dieting and changing from one thing to another, are you just sending them down another path of here's a quick fix? Or are you actually going to sit down with that person and understand why it's not working or why they're not going the right way? Now the problem is in this day and age, not that I won't go into the NHS side of it, but people haven't got time to sit and listen to your story and go, right, let's work out what's best for you. We're going, right, here's something. You two do well, you two haven't. Sorry. So as long as the education's there, I'm all for it. And like I said to you before, I don't care how people do it. As long as it's done safely, it's done effectively for them, they get the result they want, and it's given in the information the right way, and it's not just been missold, I'm happy for them.
Yeah, and I think you're right. I think my perspective of it is that I think the more tools we have to get people into a healthier lifestyle is better. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, obesity is probably one of the most dangerous things that we can be.
Huge.
So anything to help combat that is always good. The more tools, the better. But I also feel like I had surgery years ago, and you're right, I did feel that muscle mass drop off. And it's got me into a position where I can train better. I can
play football again. Positive.
So I see that as a real positive. But you're right, I still need, like, that's not the end. You lose your initial weight, but then if you have those bad habits still and you don't address them, it will just start creeping back up and you'll be back to square one. And I think it's the same with the weight loss drugs, Ozempic, Wegovy and stuff, is that, look, maybe it's a bit of a respite, but that's a respite for you to then try and get on top of your lifestyle.
Yeah, and like, let's say someone needs to lose 2 stone, that first 2 stone's gone, they then feel better to then go and exercise or more comfortable in the gym. So that's why I'm open to it. The only reservation I have is I'm a scientist myself, got a master's degree in strength and conditioning. My dissertation looked at the heart, and I've got my dissertation got published in the European Journal of Exercise Physiology. Like, there's always side effects to drugs. Any effective drug, there's always a side effect.
There's always a cost.
Yeah, whether it's positive or negative, there is going to be something that comes out at some point for it. Now, there might not, it might be 20, 30 years, but there's going to be something. So people need to go in it with caution, make sure they're talking to the right person, not just someone selling it online. Speak to your GP, speak to professionals in that field Don't just listen to Tracy, who's in your work, who's told you they've done it, because that's how misinformation, Chinese whispers happens, isn't it? I've done this, it worked for me, you should do that. It's like, well, maybe not. I've got a medical background that's not anything, not
got an underlying
condition. Like those sort of things are very dangerous for them people to talk about. So I always, anything that I talk about, I always try and give context, because that's always the bottom line is. And the hardest thing as a fitness professional is when someone asks you a question, there's always loads of different answers to it. There's no one straight answer. And if someone's giving you a straight answer, they're bullshitting you, because that's just an opinion on what they're trying to sell, or X, Y, and Z, because there's so much context between us.
And your mate's journey might not necessarily be the same as your journey, because I think I've I haven't taken the weight loss drugs, but from friends that have, where one might have zero side effects, one might have quite a few side effects.
Everyone's body is different, and that's the problem, isn't it? Everyone's body reacts to different stuff differently, and that's where you've got to look at data. You've got to look at your own data. You are your own science experiment. I did an episode for my clients about this, that you are your own experiment. That's what you're doing. You're looking at your body now, measurements, whether it be heart rate variability, whether it be body fat percentage, whether it be circumferences, body weight, whatever you're measuring, you put an intervention in place, you see how your body responds to it. That's what you're doing. And that's the evidence there for whether it's right for you.
Yeah, absolutely. My sort of take on the sort of weight loss drugs, I guess, is probably if there's someone that's certainly on the higher end of the sort of obesity scale, having that and maybe losing the weight then puts them into a better position to then start real exercising.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think exercising, I'm not poo-pooing exercising at all, but if you're sort of like 25, 30 stone, movement's difficult, and maybe putting yourself through something intensive is not the best starting point, but something like this could put you on the track. Then you're a few stone lighter, you can then
create momentum.
You're then better placed to sort of real engage in exercise and proper movement. And so
but then going back to what Kyle was saying earlier, is that actually, you know, if you are 25 stone, say, as an example, and you're 5'8", so your BMI is very high, then most of your weight loss is actually just going to come from moving more. So if at the moment you do 5,000 steps a day, up that to 7,000 is going to still have a very positive impact, as long as you're addressing the food as well. Right?
Exactly, and that's what I look at in a consultation. So what's going to be so from a coaching perspective, I'll give people a little insight to how it works. You want buy-in, so I need to win your trust, because why should you listen to me over someone who's got 10 million followers, etc.? So I've got to show you that what I've said to you is going to work. I've got to get you a result going, because if I don't, they say within the first 14 to 21 days of a coaching process, that's where the trust can be broken. So I've got to show you that what I'm saying is correct. So I'll always look at is, right, how can I get this person moving and the momentum, the snowball going? Because I know if I get that quick win, that initial win, things are going to get going for them. And it's not done quick win. I'm not going to chuck someone on low calories and get them that way, because that doesn't work, and that's really unethical. So typically I'll get someone to move more, because you can do that. Park further away at your shopping, at work, whatever, walk around the corner to the shop. Those sort of things, we can add that in. It's quite accessible to anyone to do. Get up 20 minutes earlier, walk around the block, done. Start your day with 1,000 steps. That over across a week, 7,000 extra steps a day, more than you were doing before. Then we start looking at food. Now, if we look at behavior change, the first thing is awareness. Awareness is the key to behavior change. I say key. Awareness is the first step to behavior change. So someone will then start looking at their food, typically when they start doing more movement. They'll start going, right, actually, should I be eating that? What should I change instead of this? What small swaps can I make? So get the initial process going, and then you start really getting to the specifics of it. So from a coaching perspective, that's what we're trying to do. Build trust, get that buy-in, and then we can start going, right, this is what we do from there.
No, I'm like, one thing, I guess, for guys of our age particularly, we're often in busy jobs, like I said, have kids, time's not great for us. How do we balance fitness with a busy life?
So the one thing that being a dad taught me is the ability to adapt my schedule to fit exercise in. Now, the first week, or the first 4 weeks of my son being here was terrible. I was knackered, sleep deprived. Obviously, the labour, we were in hospital. Like, there was about 72 hours of like, whoa, what's going on? I've got my son. I'm like, I own my own business, so I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I found that was the toughest time mentally of like the space I've ever been in. And I was like, I'm going to do it. I've got some dumbbells in the garage because I think everyone should have a set of dumbbells at home as a reserve. And you've always got then the ability to do some sort of workout. So I grabbed them from the garage and I was downstairs. It was like day 6, I think. And I was on like 3 or 4 hours broken sleep. And I was like, I'm going to do a workout. So I was doing it was just 3 sets of 12. I've recorded it for my clients actually. It was a bent over row, dumbbell floor press, thruster, and then a glute bridge. And it was a simple workout, just 3 sets of 12. I actually felt dizzy after the back of doing it. But I was like, actually, although I felt dizzy, I felt good for moving again, getting that blood flow going, the endorphins were there. So what I did for the 3 weeks after that, I just did that workout 3 times a week. Nothing special, but I'm exercising, I'm getting blood flow going, I'm using the muscles. So, and this is what I was saying about the world we live in. Everything's perfect. You go on Instagram now, everyone's got the perfect filter, the perfect life.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm trying to document the other side of it. Actually, I'm a PT and it's chaos, right? It's structured, but chaos. Like I have to move my diary. A client cancels, right? How do I rejig my diary for this? Like it happens on a daily occurrence. So in terms of fitting exercise in, you have to look at it from a week perspective, right? I want to do 3 20-minute workouts a week. Where am I getting that in? Look at your diary, right? Monday, full on day. You're not going to typically stick to it that day. Tuesday, I've got a little bit less on, right? I'm going to get up 20 minutes earlier and do this 20-minute bodyweight workout, or even 10, and build on that habit. It's not about the workout, it's about the habit of doing it. Now, it is about harnessing the resilience. And this is what I love about the Forces way, and like I want to be a Royal Marine and all that, is they're all about resilience. They're not about perfectionism. They're about, right, how can we get cracking with this job, or we need to do this is what's got to be done. And this is what I'll always come back to. It's going to be uncomfortable, and it's going to take a tough conversation with yourself. But if you're a dad, do you want to run around with your kids in the garden when you're in the next 10 years? I do. Like, I joke, but I want to beat my son when he's 18 in a runner race. So I've got 17 years of training to beat him.
Yeah.
And it's about having that ability to go, right, the future dad that I want to be, the future person, relies on me starting the momentum now and doing something that's going to benefit me in 10 years.
I don't think there's enough thought of that in life today about, okay, here we are, right here, right now. But what does Mark look like in 10 years' time? What does Kyle look like in 10 years' time, 20 years' time? And you've got to think of these things. And I think we get a bit older, you do start to sort of consider that. But certainly in younger years, it's just like, I've got all this time, I'll get better. But going back to your other point as well, and it's fitting in, there's a business coach that I follow, and one of his famous quotes is, if something's important, you find a way. Mm-hmm. And if it's not important, you find an excuse.
Yeah.
And it's so true. And again, it's a priority. And if you put that as a priority, you will find a way, won't you?
Yeah. And it's the problem is with exercise is it's that grey area of this is the optimal workout, right? Sack off optimal. What's the workout that you're going to stick to for the rest of your life? And it's going to take trial and error. And this is where it's hard. So you can never guarantee a result. All you can guarantee, or all I can guarantee, is I will do everything I can to find a solution for you. But you have to give me everything. You have to give me feedback. Because it doesn't work me just telling you what to do. Because I can tell you, give you this perfect plan, and you go, can't do any of that. I need feedback on stuff, right? So perfectionism doesn't work. Yeah. We need to look at what works for you right now. It's going to take trial and error. It's going to take the ability to go, that did not work for me at all. I'm never doing that again, or I might not do that again. Right? And it's looking at things that you enjoy. And if you don't enjoy exercise, you then have to come to the decision that walking is going to be your thing you've got to do. Because if you don't enjoy going and pushing yourself in terms of adaptation or just going and doing a sport, then we know that walking is going to be the preventative measure for functionality later in life. Yeah, more increasing mortality later in life, because daily movement is key. To the heart and stuff like that. But exercise, I would recommend finding a homework. So I work off basics. So I go, here's my minimum standard, here's optimal standards, right? Here's the middle ground. So I have 3 plans. I have my minimum. So if I can't make the gym, what's my backup? So I've got dumbbells in the garage. I just do this little workout, and that's it. I have it in the background, so it's always there. Then I have the middle ground, right? What's an okay week look like for me? I go to the gym twice to do 1 home workout. Cool, perfect. Right, what's the perfect week? I go to the gym 5 times. So if I can't do the 5, I do the 3. If I can't do the 3, I do the home workout. And it's about having that little backup system. And you have to plan, unfortunately. You can't just wing this sort of stuff because people are trying to wing it and it's not going very well. So we do have to take that decision and go, right, let's start putting an intervention in place. And like I said, it comes back to the thing of, if you're a parent, you do have that. I think it changes the way you view things. It's not about you anymore. I want to be as strong fit as possible for my son in the future. That's the driver for me personally. And if you want to talk about psychology, like whenever I sit down with a client, I ask them 5 whys. So they'll say, why do you want to lose weight? And they'll say, I want to lose 10 kilos. I'll be like, why do you want to lose 10 kilos? I want to feel better in myself. Why do you want to lose 10 kilos? Actually, I want to be able to walk around the beach and feel comfortable with myself. That's what you want, right? Not to lose 10 kilos because that's just a number plucked out of the air. So, and then you've got that tangible measure. And like you were saying, if it meant something and that really means something, you'll show me. The problem is, so January is a typical example of that. Everyone's trying to lose weight. So what does everyone try and do? Lose weight, right? Some people don't really want to lose weight, but they're doing it because the momentum of everyone's tracking their food, everyone's doing this, that, and the other. So they're doing it, but they're not doing it. They're doing it because everyone else is doing it. So you've got to make sure it means something to you. You've got to make sure it's conducive to what you want in life as well.
We played Peterborough for, for the Man v Fat League.
Yeah.
And I think I've said before,
I love that idea. I think it's brilliant.
Gamifies it. But I've done that now far longer than I've been a member of a gym.
Perfect.
And I think that's just because I love football. But I always try and think, I am thinking at the moment, I need to get back in the gym to build more muscle. But I'm always trying to think, well, why have I never been able to get to the gym for, I think about a year and a half I've been there now, consistently for that long? What's the difference? How do you sort of keep people in the gym, keep them entertained, even when they hit their targets?
That's the golden ticket, right? That's what every gym's trying to do. And this is my problem with commercial gyms. So I never hold anyone to a contract. Commercial gyms, the bigger chains, will tie you into a contract because they know there's a big dropout rate. And they know that they'll get their recurring revenue, do 1 month, and then they've got you a membership for 11 months. So it is tough because, like we come back to, people are uncomfortable. And then when they get the momentum, life happens, they have 2 weeks off the gym, it's like, we'll start that again, right? But that's just life. And the biggest thing I do want to get away from, I won't be this coach that enables poor behaviors because I will call that out. Like, if you're doing something that's not going to benefit your long-term goal, you're paying me to tell you that, right? Whether you like it or not, it's tough love. I will be empathetic. If you can give me a reason and I'll understand if something's going on in your life that we need to readdress that issue, but then that's my job to manage those expectations of the journey. If dieting isn't right for you at that point, I'll say don't diet, but still exercise because that's going to be good for your mental health. It's going to be good for your body. Still do these behaviors. And how can we give you that minimum platform to do that? So how do we create consistency is a tough one. That football team I think is brilliant. I think the idea and concept's great. It's enjoyable. That's the issue. It's enjoyable. So sometimes, and I'll come back to that, the uncomfortable side of it, you can't do everything you like in life. Otherwise, I wouldn't go to work. Well, I would because I love it. But you wouldn't typically want... I get up at 4 a.m. every morning, 7 days a week, because I know that I've got other people out there that are going to be building businesses 7 days a week. So I'm trying to spread a message of positivity in fitness and also deliver results because financially it benefits me, but I didn't get into this job for finances. I got into it to positively impact people's lives. Like I've got a client, he's lost 45 kilos last year. January last year, he couldn't run 2K. He's now doing high rocks with me in March, runs a better 10K than me. He's become an absolute machine.
Wow.
Like that sort of stuff I love.
Yeah. Like, and is that what keeps people coming? When they start to see those results, they start to feel better. Is that where you get those long-term members?
Yeah, so this is the problem with results. It's like I said about managing expectations. Results isn't long-term because what is a result? We've got to define it, right? So he's changed his life, lost 45 kilos in a really good space. So he's done the weight loss. So it's about different phases. Yeah, so we have to break it down. I call them different checkpoints. So he now is in a maintenance period, which is long. Like maintenance is life. You live life at maintenance, right? So he's in a maintenance time. So now we go, right, what can we do that's going to be enjoyable, that means he maintains it. And this is where things like high rocks has become massive. It's huge. It's going to be like it's taken over like the London Marathon in terms of like there's a ballot system now to be able to get into it. Like,
what is High Rocks?
So it's a fitness event. It's 8 kilometers of running and then 8 different stations. You can do it as a singles individual event, or you can do it as doubles or mixed doubles. But it's massive. It's become such a global product, and now gyms are becoming High Rocks affiliated and stuff like that. It's become its own little thing. Now, the big benefit about it is it's giving people, and it's accessible to anyone because it's functional. So the movements aren't like anyone can do it. It's a walk and lunge. I say anyone can do it. Anyone that can do those sort of movements, but it's stuff that people should be practicing and that we call functional movements. So yeah, they do 8 kilometers of running and 8 intervals. You have to train hard for it. It's not a walk in the park. But it is something that people are doing, and then they'll do it for 2 hours, then they're doing it again. They do it an hour and 45. So it's giving people something extra to look at, and that's trackable. So you go, oh, I'm actually increasing my fitness. So for him, we've gone, right, what do you want to do? He's really good at running. So he's going to do a half marathon, maybe a marathon, because it's conducive for his goal. And I feel it's appropriate for him. And it will keep him consistent. We found something he enjoys. And that's the trial and error part of it. He's in the period where you can go, right, do I want to go into doing bodybuilding style training? Do I want to do CrossFit? Do I want to do football? Do I want to do a marathon? And it's trialing things and going, I enjoy that, I don't enjoy that. And that it's a hard one because you have to put yourself out there to really go, right, what's going to be fun for me.
Yeah. High rocks is a really interesting one, and I can see that being right. I've been in the gym, I've got myself to a level where I'm happy with, I'm quite fit now and I can compete. And actually, from the beginning of your journey, that might be something that you thought was well out of reach.
Yeah.
But now it is in reach. So that's then probably, where we're like, well, I practice football, I get a bit fitter, get a bit quicker turning people and stuff like that. Not that Mark ever turns me. But like we get there, and then all of a sudden that starts happening. That's sort of your inspiration, get better. And I can see with the high rocks thing, that being like, actually, I want to get better at high rocks.
Yeah.
And I've interviewed some world champion high rocks. There's 2 of them, German lads. And you will never be, to get to the top of that, you've got to be an absolute machine. I can see that being inspiration. It's really interesting.
You have to train hard for it. The thing is with fitness, and this is I'll put this out there, no matter how anyone does it, if someone's lost a load of weight, or someone's running a marathon, or someone's doing a fitness event, fair play, they're putting in hard work, because not many people are gifted at doing that. You can't just turn up and get that done. To do a high rocks, you have to had some aerobic capacity, you've had to train at some point or put in some effort. To lose weight, you've had to do something and put some effort in. All these things require effort. You can't just turn up and go, this is me, I'll breeze it. It just doesn't work like that. So I'll always credit people when they've put in the work. I love seeing people put in hard work, and that's my real message. And it's tough because you can't do it for someone, it has to come from them.
Yeah, we've said this before. We did a Christmas episode where it was just before Christmas, a week or 2 before, where we said actually one of the things we noticed from what we call our losers, people who come on and lose weight, is that they've got something to aim for. Mm-hmm. So we've committed to doing something like Tougher Mudder, this year, or an event like that to be focused on, actually, for me and Mark.
Sells that goal.
Yeah, it's good fun. Yeah. And that's the way that we're in a running culture world now. Like the last year, and the Rising, like 247 represent that sort of thing, high rocks. We're in the running era. Running clubs are everywhere, that sort of thing, which is really good. I think it's positive. The only problem from a coaching perspective and an injury prevention perspective, make sure it's right for you. Like, make sure that you're building up the volume. Don't just go and do a marathon like after 2 weeks of training, because your joints aren't going to like you. You want to look at long-term consistency of these sort of things. But going back to a point we raised earlier about that person in the gym that's always shredded. The thing is with those people is they've like I say about me, go back to me, but I don't like training, but they've built the resilience to go when they don't feel like going. That's the golden ticket. If you can build that up, and that's a battery that takes time to charge. You have to go and do it. You have to get dirty outside in the cold. Like I got home from work yesterday, started working at 4 a.m. in the morning, finished at 8 p.m. last night. I needed to train. I could have trained during the day at work, but I messaged the lad that I was just talking about, referencing, that's lost 45 kilos, lives around the corner from me. I said, should we do a workout 20 minutes outside, it's -2, let's smash it out. We just got some dumbbells out, one works, one rest, one work, one rest, 20 minutes. We held each other accountable, got it done. But it was hard doing it, it's cold, but we felt good for doing it.
Yeah.
And it's about putting those little things in place to do that.
You know what? It's always been a thing for me. Was I often struggle to motivate myself to go. Once you've been and you've done the workout, you never regret it.
No.
You never feel like, oh, I wish I hadn't done that. That never happens. Every time you go, you're like, I felt so much better for doing that.
Yeah.
But then the next time you'd still struggle to motivate yourself to go. It's
motivation comes and goes though. It's never going to be there, and that's always the hard thing. Like the motivation is the starter, the driver. We then got to use that momentum to create that habit.
It's discipline
going.
is the key.
Yeah,
Isn't it?
and it's looking at that goal. It comes down to that. Is that goal really what you want? Do you want it? Like, do you want skin in the game sort of thing? And it's hard because we go back to empathy, like we were talking about before. Like, I've never been overweight. I've put on body fat though. Like I've to my standard, I've let my standard slip in terms of I put on too much body fat that I'd like, so I had to lose it. So I've dieted and I've done shreds and stuff like that. I've got myself super lean from being a bit fluffier than I was. I call it fluffier because I'm not like using the term fat all the time. So I've done that. So I know what it's like to diet. I've done low calorie diets and stuff like that. But you could say, but you've never been 2-3 stone heavier. So I would never be able to resonate, but I've trained clients that have lost 2, 3, 4, 5 stone. Like that's my go-to. I know what works. Let me into your life and I'll help you.
And you seem really kind of like very open-minded, free thinking and understanding. But I'm sure you've come across, or have you come across, I suppose, those gym instructors, and I think Mark got called out on social media by this. Have you ever been overweight yourself? No, I'm not lazy, and I'm, that sort of attitude.
So yeah, I have come across those sort of people. And so I look at stuff. So when someone's got an opinion, I try and look at them and go, right, so what have they experienced in their life? Have they been overweight? Like what is the go-to? What is the polarizing opinion of both sides? And do they look at each other and go, I get your point? Or do they go, you're an idiot, I don't like you? So, and I think in this day and age, in the world we live in, like especially it's very polarizing now, like because that's what everyone's driving. People are creating cults left, right, and center. I try and understand both ends of the spectrum and go, right, is there a middle ground? Is someone right and someone's right? Because everyone thinks they're really right.
Yeah.
Or are they just two different opinions?
Yeah.
Would I agree? Some people are lazy and they do need to be called out on that. Do some people put in the effort and not really had the guidance or had the opportunity to learn from the appropriate people or been missold? Yes, and I feel sorry for them. So it's a real hard one. Do I think you should slander people on social media? No, because I think that's a very grey area of it. And as a fitness professional, you should be doing that because A, he doesn't understand your background. B, he's not done a consultation. So he's not really understanding you. He's just calling someone a name because they've attacked his narrative. And that's a bit of a defensive mechanism. That's a bit of a...
Tit for tat,
it's a bit of a grey area of like... There's a bit of an insecurity there, in my opinion, that someone's actually said... He's quite clearly someone, you've gone to him and gone, you've not been in my scenario.
Yeah.
Actually, what you're saying is a load of rubbish. And he's gone, rather than saying, here's a client I've worked with, potentially he's never worked with them, he's gone, no, you're just lazy. That doesn't cut it. That's just an excuse of giving an answer for an answer's sake.
I wonder, just off the top of my head, I wonder, because you do get different types of PTs looking at different things. So like, for example, you might get a PT who takes someone who's in relatively good shape and then takes them into bodybuilding to become... compete.
Different niches, yeah.
So I just wonder whether maybe it's the wrong niche, the wrong opinion, but doesn't work with those people, so might not have an understanding of it, potentially.
Yeah, so you've got niches, like fitness mentors in the fitness game are telling every coach to niche down. So you'll see online, if you've got PTs that are following you or sliding into your DMs, they'll say, I train 9 to 5ers to get in better shape, or I train dads. But I train anyone and everyone because I enjoy training different people. I like looking at the different ways to apply it. I've got menopausal ladies, I've got dads, I've got mums, I've got younger clients, I've got lads that are going through shreds themselves and like wanting to get into photo shoot shape. But it's their goal. Everyone's got a different goal, and the principles are typically the same, but the way you push people are very different. And it all comes down to, like I said at the start, empathy, all resonating. Can I understand the goal and what you're trying to do and what you want to achieve? Yeah. So yeah, it is different people approaching things differently. But especially on social media, I'm not all for the slandering side of it. So
No, that's fair enough. But going on to sort of training dads, and obviously most of our listeners probably will be dads. You've got a project you're working on, this dad bod prevention. Do you want to tell us a bit more about that?
Yeah, so what I did, so when my wife told me she was pregnant, I thought I'm just going to journal everything from how I'm feeling, how she's feeling, what I'm doing in my programming, to just everything, because I thought it'd be a good resource at some point for someone. So I journaled the whole journey, like what I was doing in my training. And before he was here, I was like, right, I need to give myself, I call it the buffer. So I need to get lean enough so that I can have a period of being a bit fat and not be too worried. So I got a bit leaner, and this is where we talk about niches. I did a niche thing. I went, right, I'm going to get really lean and go a bit further down into it than I would normally. Gave me a little bit of a buffer going into the arrival of my son. And then because I knew that period would be 3 months of, I'm not really going to have much time to train, so I'm going to lose a little bit of tissue, etc. And so I tried to give myself that little bit of a buffer and a bit of a break. So I journaled it all down basically, and I thought it'd be a good resource. And what I was getting at, as I started looking at it more and more, I was like, if dads could prevent themselves from putting on body fat over time, during that first 2 years, it put themselves in a good position going forward from there, because you two experienced it. The sleepless nights, your food, hunger hormones go up, you want more food. You do less movement because you're tired. You don't exercise. So these are all the things that create excess body fat or create us going into a calorie surplus. Therefore, we put on weight. So yeah, I then journaled it and I was like, actually, I want to help dads like build the foundation, because although during that first year or two, you don't really want to diet because energy's not there. You do want to do the basics to which you can build that foundation. And then I had a bit of a wobble. I don't mind talking about mental health stuff. Not that I've suffered for anything like that, but I had my own internal battles, like of feeling pressure financially. Like I'm the main person in the family. My wife helps me with the business, so there's that on my head. The person I used to be, I had a real identity issue with Kyle, the fit PT, could like do anything. All of a sudden I'm feeling dizzy when I'm training with a client. Like, that's not good. So I had a bit of an identity issue there with like not being able to train 5-6 days a week, which I normally could, to just train 3 days a week. And then just overall pressures of being a dad. Like, I'm sure you two understand that it's a life-changing experience. And I kept having this battle with myself of like, you were not an idiot when you were a PT, but you didn't understand it at all. And now I look back at some of my friends who are PTs and what they say, and I'm like, you don't understand parents at all. Like, you don't understand what it's like to only have 2 hours sleep and then have to go to work. You don't understand the pressures of actually your wife's at home, she needs a bit more help. Like, you can't go to the gym and train that night, or you just want to both just crash and go to sleep because it's been exhausting, the baby's been crying all night. So I was like, how can I create a platform for dads to keep those foundations there, not be financially broken from it, because coaching can be an expensive thing. So I've done it at a relatively low price point to give people those foundations and the access to those foundations, and create a support network of dads who are all in it together, all can share their own thing. So I've got dads that are newbie dads like me, because that's one thing I didn't want to get across is like, I'm this dad, I've got a 1-year-old son, I know everything. Like, it's going to change over time, I'm sure. So I've got dads at different age points. One dad's in there's got a 15-year-old, one's got a 20-year-old, one's got a 6-year-old. So everyone can share something, and it's about creating that community, because that's what personally keeps people accountable and keeps people going for longer. When you have a sense of identity or purpose in a group, it really helps keep the consistency there. And I'm just an advocate, taking finances out of it. I'm just an advocate for people keeping fit and healthy, because that's really important in life. Like, that is life in a nutshell. Without your heart ticking, you haven't got a life.
Yeah, it's interesting. Where is that community? Is it on Facebook or?
It's just, so I have it on Facebook, I have it a WhatsApp group, and then I have it through my app, my training app.
Cool. Okay. Well, we'll put a link into that, because I think that's really interesting. That would help out a lot of people.
Yeah.
And you're right. It makes me giggle. it's really hard. And a lot of gym PTs are niche at the moment, and I get that quite a lot. That they'll reach out to me through social media and they'll be like, "Hey, do you want to get fit for 2025?" And it's like, well, you've clearly just looked at my profile picture, seen that I'm an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Mine always seem to be like, I work with
High profile entrepreneurs,
And one of them, I shit you not, I went through, and he was like, "Yeah, I only work with entrepreneurs." And when we did the Zoom, he was in Bali, living out literally like this beautiful garden in the back, see the palm trees and beaches. He's from London, and I said, "Oh yeah, no, it sounds really good. How much is it?" And he was like, £650 a month. And you're like, for you to live in that? There's no gym, it's all online.
The thing is with the fitness industry, it's boomed since COVID. Online coaching has become big, right? There was a few fitness mentors that started like getting PTs in, and they're all then selling not the same program, but they then told them how to market it and what price point to go in at. And in my opinion, not many of them are worth that money. And especially if you're not seeing them physically in the gym. Because PTing is different to online coaching. They're different products for different people. PT, you're paying to come see me as an exercise professional, put you for a program, put you for an intense program, or whatever's appropriate for you. Go away, you get some of my resources as well in terms of nutrition. Online coaching is, right, let's look at your lifestyle, training plan obviously, but you're not in the gym with them, so you've done it differently. So if you're doing check-ins, that's fine, but can you say too much in a check-in? Yes and no, but it doesn't need to be every week. There's a lot of bravado about like what people are doing in the fitness industry with it. So I've stripped that all back. My wife helps me now. So we've got I call it Prevent the Dad Bod, or KO the Dad Bod, because my initial is KO. So that's my online resource. I've also got one for mums, which my wife's helping me create as well. She's not anti-fitness. She doesn't like training. She doesn't like exercise. She hates going to the gym. So she walks. That's literally what we do together. We go for a walk. I try and make it as inclusive as possible. And I have a real passion for helping mums feel good as well. Because I found it such an amazing thing, like the pregnancy and stuff like that, and the birth. Like what my wife did for me, I like to help her feel as good as possible. So there's a powerful message through exercise and nutrition that can be done with that as well.
So with the KO, the Dad Bod, what is that then? Is that like an online group where you give workouts, but nutritional advice?
Yeah. So they have a monthly webinar with me. So we all get together on a Zoom call. I talk about latest topics. So they fill out a form every week of questions they've got, based on either lifestyle factors, nutrition, training, and in that I collate data. They get feedback from me as well. I've got what I call my results Bible. It's a tracking system that tracks all the basic metrics that I need to keep things going. And they also get access to workouts that I review every 3 or 4 weeks via my app. It has exercise demo videos and stuff like that. So if you train at home, it's there. If you train in the gym, it's there. If you want a mix. And then, it's just mainly the support network. So there's a WhatsApp group where we just share some fun and share tips with each other. It's my job to keep you accountable throughout the process.
Cool. Okay. Well, awesome.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll put a link to them in the show notes. I think we're going to have to leave it there, but it's been a long, but I think really interesting.
Talk.
So thanks for coming on, Carl.
No, I appreciate it.
We'll catch up with you soon. Mate, what did you think to that?
Yeah, that was a great episode. He's got a lot to say, is Kyle. I don't mean that in a horrible way, but he's clearly passionate about what he does. And like I said, he does view things a little bit differently in the fitness world.
Yeah, definitely. And I love the bits he's doing around the dad bod prevention. I think that's a great idea. Not just really overweight guys, but I think a lot of guys sort of feel that like, I'm having kids and I'm not at the gym now as much as I was, or not doing some of the things I was doing. Yeah. And I remember those sleep deprived nights where it's right, you get that hunger and stuff. Yeah, so
you don't sleep too well.
No,
you do though. You have a bad night's sleep. You do eat more. You're hungrier. You're more tired, and so. To create a community to sort of support dads and help keep on top of their fitness, it can only be a good thing. So I think that's a really nice touch. He had plenty to talk about, and I really like the guy.
Yeah, me too. Really relatable, really good. Lots of knowledge again.
Yeah.
Brilliant. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Be sure to like and subscribe for more episodes coming out soon. And check out our website, which is bigfeatherspodcast.com. Take care. See you soon.
See you soon, guys.